Hey everyone, it's time for another reaction video. I have been working very hard on some juicy debunks that I will be releasing through the rest of the month, but in the meantime, I thought I'd give you a short little reaction video to sink your teeth into while you wait for those to come out. So this one is going to be nowhere near as long as the last one I did with the Jubilee and the anti-vaxxers. That was very excessive. So we're just going to do a pretty short one here. No booze today, just, it's a short video. So the video, it's about 15 minutes long, and this is something that a few people sent to me, and it's called "The First Ever Scientist to Explain How to Shift into Higher Frequencies." That sounds pretty juicy. And it is on a channel called Video Advice, which has close to 4 million subscribers, and the video itself has about 750,000 views, and it was released last year. So, pretty decent chunk of views. And the person narrating here, apparently it's a video, or somebody is speaking, whose name is Robert Edward Grant. I don't know who that is. But he's the first scientist to explain this groundbreaking concept, which I can already tell you is literally meaningless. So this should be fun. It sounds like it's going to be a bunch of quantum mysticism bullshit, which many of you know I have debunked quite a bit before. And so I chose this one because I get a lot of suggestions, but I've been doing so much. I've been doing mainly all like anti-vaxxers and medical misinformation, or creationist, Discovery Institute, like that kind of stuff. And so I have more videos of that queued up to react to at some point. But I just thought, let's throw in a different thing. Let's just mix it up a little bit. This is going to be quantum mysticism, I think. So probably some physics and dumb, pseudo-philosophy and stuff like that. So it's a short one. Let's just have a little fun so that you have something to watch while I continue to work on some of these debunks that are coming up pretty soon. So that sounds fun. I think it's going to be a good time. Nowhere near, hopefully, as aggravating as the Jubilee one was. Although, who knows? This could get me pretty worked up. This stuff does kind of piss me off. So the first ever scientist to explain how to shift into higher frequencies. Let's start right now.
As you move into higher frequency, the world around you shifts to that frequency. As you move into higher dimension, the world around you starts to shift to that new reality.
Okay, so yeah, this is we're off to the races here. This is, I knew obviously from the title itself, and also from the main thing that all of these quantum mystics say, or the main tactic, I should say, is that they just use buzzwords improperly to sound deep, and the main one, their absolute favorite one, is frequency. None of these jerks have any clue what frequency means. I've talked about this before, but if I haven't made myself clear to you yet, frequency means number of cycles or repetitions per unit time. Okay, so this has to be applied to some natural phenomenon in order to mean anything. There could be a frequency with which I use the bathroom on any given day. Usually we're talking more about a more concrete physical phenomenon. So light, waves of light have a frequency. There's a wavelength and a frequency. So the wavelength would be the distance from crest to crest or trough to trough or whatever, the length of one wave, and then therefore a frequency, because as that light travels at the speed of light, what is the number of waves that will pass by some arbitrary point per unit time? So per second is a unit called hertz. So however many iterations of that wave pass by a point in 1 second, that's hertz. Same with sound. Sound is waves, mechanical waves traveling through a medium such as the atmosphere. You have to be defining frequency of what. What are you talking about? You could talk about a frequency of revolutions of something that is spinning, right? That's it. But to just say a higher frequency is literally meaningless. I think what they want it to mean is like higher frequency, like being better and smarter and happier. None of that has anything to do with a frequency. So none of it means anything. And then he talked about higher dimensions. Same thing. I mean, we live in three spatial dimensions, which can be measured in length, width, and height. If you're talking about higher dimensions, they're usually talking about like another realm or something, which that's not what dimension means. So yeah, not a great start. Let's see where this goes.
Your perspective. So that also creates changes retrocausally. The entire universe is mental. That what you perceive in the reality around you is
okay. So let me get a good
not.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, this is looking like some Terrence Howard stuff. We got a little flower of life looking kind of a thing. So let me read this here. We've got principle of mentalism in the middle, and then we have principle of correspondence, principle of gender, principle of cause and effect, principle of rhythm, principle of polarity, and principle of vibration. So are any of those really principles? I don't think that's the way that we use principle. These are none of them are things, and then they are arranged very arbitrarily on a cool looking shape to make it seem like it is deep and meaningful. Yeah, I mean, I guess okay, cause and effect. We could say that that's a principle. I'm fine with that. Principle of gender. That's just aimed at the types of people who fall for this kind of woo. They're very into gender related phenomena. Gender is a biological and sociological phenomenon. Principle of rhythm, principle of vibration. These are just things. Rhythm is a thing. Vibration is a thing. Okay.
Material. It's a compelling belief that you have that actually forms the world around you. Your expectation becomes your reality, just like the double slit phenomenon. This is why double slit phenomenon does what it does. You have a unique...
So this is why the double slit phenomenon does what it does. Promptly moves on. Doesn't even try, like, this dude does not know what the double slit experiment is. Doesn't even try to summarize it. He just knows that whoever falls for this shit watched What the Bleep Do We Know or some other idiotic pseudo documentary, vaguely remembers, oh, double slit experiment is where a kooky thing happens that proves all the bullshit that I want to be real. So he literally just mentions the double slit experiment like to elicit like a Pavlovian response and then moves on. Right, and then all of this is what did he say? It's all just this expectation creating reality, or we can manifest whatever This is self-help bullshit. Quantum mysticism is always self-help bullshit. So I'm sure that we will see a lot of this. So what's next here?
Light signature that is you, but you're not really that color. You think that you're the color that you are, but actually that's just reflection color. You have a whole nother spectrum of you that's the absorption. So let's take an example of hydrogen.
Okay, so that's not really you. We call things the color that we perceive, right? So every atomic matter interacts with light. You have atomic nuclei, and then you have electrons, and these electrons can be on various energy levels. And an electron can absorb a photon of a particular wavelength and go to an excited state, and then it can relax down to a lower energy level and emit a photon. And if that photon hits our eyeballs, we can perceive it, and we see a particular color. So I don't think he's getting really philosophical here. I think he just doesn't understand what any of this means. So he's teeing up the Bohr model, which we were all supposed to learn in 10th grade chemistry. Let's see how he screws it up.
Hydrogen. This is what the spectral reflection of hydrogen looks like. So if you looked at, spectral analysis of hydrogen, it would have a color purple, another color that's more violet, and then kind of this bluish color, and then this light blue, and then this red pinkish color. That combination of colors is how we know hydrogen exists. So when we look into outer space and we use a telescope that does this spectroscopy, and we could see across the entire cosmos, we know where hydrogen pockets are, where there's a high preponderance of hydrogen based on the color reflections that come out. That's how we know what something is. We know that copper, like if you're looking at some material, you don't know what the material is, you can look at a spectral reflection analysis and be able to tell exactly what that material is just based on the colors that are reflected.
I love how this dude spelled reflection with an X. That's pretty good. Okay, so this part isn't too bad. It's not. That's this is okay. Yes. So the thing though is that he's like, I don't think he understands that each of those spectral lines is a specific transition, right? It is a specific electronic transition from, so like for hydrogen, an electron can relax from n equals 2 to n equals 1, and that emits a photon of a particular frequency. Or it can go 3 to 1, or 3 to 2, or 4 to 2, or 4 to 1. Right, there's a characteristic energy gap there from any energy level to any other one, and therefore a characteristic frequency that goes along with that transition, or the photon that is either absorbed or released in order for the electron to undergo that transition. So he is almost certainly going to take this and distort it and try to apply it baselessly to all manner of esoterica.
The unique combination of colors that are reflected. Now, you understand that you have DNA. Your DNA is a unique signature of you. There's never been another DNA like yours, and there never will be another DNA identical to yours. Even though you're 99% the same as a monkey, that 1% that makes you different makes you infinitely different.
Okay. Okay, so we're 98 to 99% similarity with chimpanzees, which are not monkeys, right? Apes are not monkeys, but at least we're not. This is at least not the typical creationist denial of genetic similarity. But no, you're not infinitely different. What the hell does that even mean? If you're quantifying the percentage of difference and putting a finite number that describes how different you are, then you're not infinitely different. Like, you're 1% different, so you're infinitely different. Like, what the hell does that even mean?
Inside that differentiation is what makes you. So that means that you have a persona, right, which would be these colors right here, your reflection, and then you have a shadow, which that shadow would be the exact opposite. So
that's not a shadow, right? It's not an inverse. It is that an object can be irradiated with light of all wavelengths, and some are absorbed and some are reflected. Right? Most are absorbed and some are reflected. The ones that are not absorbed are reflected. Right? So that's why you see the lines in you see the lines in one and then the bands in the other, with the black lines, the thin black gaps where it is not being absorbed because it's being reflected. So it's the inverse in the sense that where it is not absorbed, it is reflected. But it's not like the mathematical inverse, right? The wavelengths are the same. The wavelength where all those arrows are, right, for each particular emission line, that's the same wavelength on the reflection, right? You could put the same scale under each of those and put 400 nanometers, 500 nanometers, 600 nanometers, right? It's the same scale. We're not inverting any numbers. Most are absorbed, some are reflected. What is reflected is what we see. That's what we perceive. That's how we see color.
So all the colors that are used for the reflection are not part of the absorption. That's why you have blacked out lines here. So that means you have all the rest of the colors in the light spectrum that are not you. Well, you perceive they're not you. Well, what if those colors...
Okay, not you? Like, we're looking at hydrogen. There is not a simple spectrum like this that corresponds to a human being. This is a singular element, hydrogen. There are many, many different types of atoms in the human body, arranged in very complex ways. There is not a simple absorption or emission spectrum that is characteristic of a macroscopic object of complex chemical composition. He's literally showing the hydrogen absorption spectrum and talking about how and pretending that it somehow correlates with the human. It doesn't.
colors simply get projected back to you as reflection in the world around you. The mathematics of this is something called the Rydberg formula. And Niels Bohr, who is a famous Danish physicist in the 1930s and 40s, who worked closely with Einstein, he was more on the quantum physics side of things. He basically found that you could exactly predict, based on the frequency of hydrogen, its spectral emission of color. And it was exactly accurate. And this is called the Bohr atom model. And the mathematics of it is simply x and 1 over x. So they used here lambda. So it's lambda and 1 over lambda.
It's not x and what are you talking about? You're showing the whole formula. Why aren't you talking about, so N1 is a particular energy level and N2 is another energy level, right? So if the electron is going from N equals 5 to N equals 2, then you have to plug in 5 and 2, and this is a way of calculating the energy discrepancy between those energy levels, and therefore the wavelength of the photon that will be emitted or absorbed to induce that transition. We all learned this in 10th grade. All right? A lot of people forgot it. That's fine. But so lambda and 1 over lambda. What are you talking about? There is a lambda in the formula. It's written as inverse lambda. It's not lambda and 1 over lambda. The variable lambda, which corresponds to wavelength, is in the formula. And then there's other stuff in there. Okay.
So you have this differentiation that would then tell you these specific nanometers of light would be converted directly from the spectral or frequency rather of hydrogen.
What do you mean converted? There's no conversion. Converted directly from spectrum frequency hydrogen. None of this means anything. There's no conversion. It is the same formula that is calculating all of these lines, whether it's reflection or absorption. They're the same lines, right? It's just absorption or reflection. It's the same thing.
Which then I can derive to know exactly and predict exactly, based on the frequency of hydrogen, based on its 1 over x calculation, what its nanometers of light signature will be. It's exactly these lines right here. So this is measured in nanometers. This is 400 nanometers, 500 nanometers, 600 nanometers. What we're really looking at is 1 octave of light. We have 89 octaves.
No, they're God damn it. Terrence Howard must work closely with this guy, because this is the crap he was trying to pull as well. There's no octaves. That doesn't mean anything. It's a bunch of frequencies. If you wanna arbitrarily match them up with notes on a keyboard, you can do that. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, that you can map some numbers onto another thing doesn't mean that they correlate in any way, or that you can use the language of one to describe the other. There's no octaves of light. That doesn't mean anything.
Or 88 octaves of experience across sound, thought at the very basis, becomes sound, becomes microwave, it becomes infrared, becomes...
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Light is not sound, and light is not thought. You can't just say, here's a thing that has to do with light, therefore it's also about sound and thought. What are you talking about? That's not how physics works.
Ultrasound, and then as it goes higher and higher, light is just the 55th octave above sound. So you just keep taking up to higher and higher octaves of frequency, and now you're in the terahertz.
Light is oscillations within an electromagnetic field. It is orthogonal electric and magnetic fields oscillating. Sound is mechanical waves of atmospheric particles being perturbed. They are completely different and unrelated phenomena. Light is not sound. Sound is not light. A thing that has to do with light doesn't automatically have to do with sound. They are totally different things. Period.
Frequencies. So what happens is you just go all the way up until the 55th octave. The 55th octave from the very beginning is light, and that's the only octave of visible spectrum. Beyond that are all the other octaves. Then you get into cosmic rays, gamma rays, etc., right?
Okay, so like an octave, like y- there there's a range of visible light. And if you're operating in nanometers, it's a few hundred, it's a range of a few hundred nanometers. And so how are you calling that an octave? Right? If you're talking about 8 notes in an octave, or if you're including all the half steps, there's more. What is it, 12 or something? Um, so those numbers don't match. You can scale them and force them to match, but you're just arbitrarily scrunching something and placing it on top of something else. There's nothing profound going on here. And yes, okay, so you've got IR, you've got UV, you've got X-rays, you've got gamma rays, higher frequency, lower frequency. So what? Everybody already knew that. You're not saying anything.
It goes X-rays, all that. So what happens is this visible light spectrum is the same as looking at a piano keyboard, and it's just the note G on the piano keyboard, middle G, because that's the 55th note on a piano keyboard.
Why? Why is it that note? What are you talking about? You just took it and you put it there and said it's this note. The 55th note, why is it the 55th octave? That doesn't mean anything. You're just making up numbers.
Which is a Fibonacci number. So basically, you look at the piano keyboard, you've got the entire spectrum as a microcosm, right? Which then we can expand and just put lots and lots of 88 piano keyboards next to each other. And the 55th one is the one that yields light. And the other ones are not yielding light, but they're yielding different forms of sound that we have different senses to be able to sense.
No, because light is not sound. You can't take one phenomenon and force it to transform into another one. You're doing this thing where you're taking frequencies of electromagnetic radiation and you're arbitrarily mapping them onto a piano keyboard and saying, look, because I just said that this goes on top of this, that means light is sound. It isn't. You can take any set of numbers. You can take any set of numbers that correspond with anything. The frequency of, I don't know, man, like something that has to do with like traffic on the freeway or something, like literally fucking anything. And then you can just go, look, I'm placing them along a keyboard. Therefore, that thing that I am talking about is sound. Like, what are you talking about, man?
And the ones we can't sense, we can sense through the pineal gland. A lot of people think that darkness is the absence.
What the shit are you talking about? It's the pineal gland. What is sensing what? How is it? How does sensation work? How do the senses work? How does the brain work? Right? We're not, it's just throwing out absolute nonsense.
Of light. Darkness is not the absence of light. Darkness is the opposite condition of light. The opposite condition would be you've got a field of little nodal points that are cubes. Each of these cubes has a little LED inside of it. Think of it like an LED. And there's an on excitation and an off excitation. So the opposite condition of light is the off excitation. The condition of light is the on excitation. It's a field, just like a gigantic LED screen in 3 dimensions or 4 dimensions or multi-dimensions. Very, very high knowledge technology.
Yeah, high knowledge technology. What the fuck is this guy talking about? This kind of shit is like, what do you even do with this? Like, it's very much like Terrence Howard's stuff, although slightly more coherent. There's just nothing here to deconstruct. You are like an LED screen. Okay, what? Why? Because you say so? Because it sounds neat to say that, and there's cool pictures that somebody made that make you go, wow, look, I'm understanding something really profound here, I guess.
What's happened is the pixels that you thought were you are not actually you. They're just reflecting the light signature of you. And as you move to another place, it's just like the wave transitioning. You move to another position, then a whole new set of pixels have been on excited to represent your light signature.
Okay, we're not pixels, right? We're not in a computer, but also light signature reflected. Yeah, it's reflected off of you. You are made of atoms, and those atoms reflect light, so that so people can see you if that light that is reflected by you hits their eyeballs. But what is this thing of what the light that it reflects off of you somehow isn't you? Well, I mean, the light isn't you, but right, you are matter. Matter reflects light. Like what? There's just nothing. There's nothing to dig into here.
Just as if you're in a screen on a TV. What's happening is that there's a whole new set of pixels that are reflecting you. The only limitations that exist, therefore, are the ones that you persistently believe in, including time. The world around you is just your spectral absorption being reflected back to you, and you're X, and the world around you is your 1 over X. That's why.
What the fuck, man? This is harder to react to than I thought, just because it's like it's just rapid fire meaninglessness. It's hard to even like. He immediately brought in the like your expectation. Now you are X. The world around you is 1 over X. Like, why? What the fuck are you like? Why? How are you demarcating? Like, just I don't know, man. There's just nothing to say with this.
I call it the U inverse. This is where it goes to Hermeticism. The first principle of the 7 Hermetic principles is mentalism. Mentalism means the entire universe is mental. It's not.
This is where it goes to the other unrelated thing that I want to talk about and pretend is profound. All is divine mind. The universe is mental. Says you. Based on what? Because it sounds cool? Because this is how you sell your self-help mind over matter. You can manifest anything you want for 5 easy payments of $19.99. Nothing you just said, all of the bullshit you just said about the electromagnetic spectrum, just it was a hard 90-degree turn to now mentalism. It's just we're talking about the mind manifest like. It's like just wave after wave of unrelated jargon to just trick the viewer into thinking that that anything is being said, that they're learning something, that incredible realizations are occurring. This is snake oil of the nth degree.
It's not material. You have to realize the entire universe is mental, that what you perceive in the reality around you is not material. It's a compelling belief that you have that actually forms the world around you. Your expect.
Based on what? You got any evidence for that? Seems pretty solid to me. I think it's material. I think it's material that existed long before minds ever came about. And that's a pretty consistent way of looking at the universe. Our brains are made of matter. Mind is matter. Mind is an emergent property of matter. And I'm not much of a philosophy buff, so I know that there are plenty of people out there who engage in lines of thinking that are not so materialistic. But I have yet to hear any compelling evidence that runs contrary to materialism, as much as frauds at like Discovery Institute would push back on that. Yeah, mind is an emergent property of matter. Changed my mind. Let's go with that.
Expectation becomes your reality, just like the double slit phenomenon. This is why double slit phenomenon does what it does, in one context, and it works.
Did he really just repeat himself word for word and again not say anything about the double slit experiment? Or did somebody like, I don't think this guy, like, I think this is a channel probably that just like takes narrations and then like makes shitty visuals to them. So I don't know why they chopped this up to, it sounds to me like it was just the same soundbite again. If not, that's absolutely hilarious that he's just like, double slit is a thing, moving on. What are you doing, man?
Retrocausally even. So that means that if a photon of light is either going to be a wave or a particle, and its dependence on whether it'll be a wave.
Okay, just want to point out that they put photon and quark. Quarks have nothing to do with photons, right? Quarks are the building blocks of baryons. So those make up protons and neutrons, which are not at all. So photons are particles of light, which also have wave nature. So yeah, I don't like the randomness of the visuals is very irritating as well here.
Wave or a particle is going to be dependent on whether or not it will be observed. It will even know before it's observed if it's going to be observed. And retrocausally, it will know, even if you didn't observe it, that you might observe it later on. And so it will act as a particle because there is no such thing as linear time as we construct it.
Okay, Jesus Christ. Okay, so he did try to talk about the double slit experiment. No, there's no light can't know things. Light is not sentient, and all of this misunderstanding of the double slit experiment, like oh, it knows it changes its behavior when it's being observed. No, it's because an observation, when you're performing an observation on a quantum system, you have to interact with it. So if you try to measure something about light, about a photon or an electron or an individual particle, you're affecting that system. So the wave function collapses, and it just it's been a while since I did all this physics stuff, all that physics content. But the point is that you're not just passively observing something and then it changes its behavior. It's not you can't observe a photon the way you look out your window and spy on your neighbor. In order to observe something like a photon, you have to interact with it. And that is what changes its behavior. Observation on the quantum level is not passive. It's an active thing. And so, yeah, the double slit, I talk about this in my Quantum Mysticism is Stupid video. If anyone is interested in more of this kind of stuff, check out that video. I go over all of these common misconceptions about these landmark experiments. Okay, let's move on to there is no linear time. Tell us about time, dude?
That's just an illusion that we create for ourselves to experience this linearity of time. But actually, everything's happening now. I don't believe that there's a different universe for every decision point we made.
Everything is happening now. Everything is happening simultaneously, even though no, it definitely isn't. And if it was, you could demonstrate it somehow. You could make some kind of prediction that those of us stuck in linear time would have to grapple with, would have to reckon with when you say exactly what's going to happen at any given moment in the future, or observe something in the past that would be impossible to observe. No, you can't do any of that. You're just spewing mumbo jumbo to sound deep.
That you can jump into different decision points. I'm not of that. What I do believe, though, is that what is explicable from the perspective of Mandela effect, which is when a group of people have a memory of something that didn't really happen, like millions of people. Like people remember Nelson Mandela's death in the 1980s. It never happened. I mean, he died in the 2000s something. He didn't die in the 80s, but people remember watching his funeral. They remember watching it for hours and mourning it and everything, like millions of people. Well, as you move into higher frequency, the world around you shifts to that frequency. As you move into higher dimension, the world around you starts to shift to that new reality.
Okay, yeah, they're doing it again. I'm pretty sure that was exactly the first soundbite of the video. Doesn't mean anything, and this fucking Mandela effect that conspiracy theorists like to talk about, like, it's not that hard to wrap your head around the idea that people can remember something incorrectly. They can remember wrong things, and then that spreads mimetically through society. People talk, and then that affects the collective consciousness, right? It's not happening in a vacuum. Like, it's like, I remember when I was like a teenager, people would say this phrase correctly. They would say, I couldn't care less. They would say, I couldn't care less about blah, 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 which is the right way to say it. And then slowly I observed this happening, and I became very perplexed that around college age, or like in my 20s, or at some point, everyone started saying, I could care less. I could care less. But it's like, no, you couldn't care less. If you could care less, that means that you care some. So obviously what happened is that a few people started saying it incorrectly. That spread, and more people started saying it incorrectly, because language is a shared phenomenon, right? We learn it from others, and we're influenced by the way others use language. And then all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, it took a little while, but over some number of years or however long it took, it spread like a virus, and now fucking everybody says I could care less. everybody says a wrong thing. Is that the Mandela effect? No, it's just like it's sociology. So whatever I mean, I was a kid in the 80s, so I don't remember the Nelson Mandela thing, but there's other examples like Bernstein Bears, or whatever. It's just people remembered something wrong and then shared their incorrect recollection with other people, and that infected everyone with this incorrect, like, it's not like how far gone do you have to be to believe in some magical revision of time and history over just, oh, people knew a wrong thing? Seriously?
Of your perspective. So that also creates changes retrocausally. So that throughout time, you literally live in what people refer to as a different timeline. Things change. Things that you might remember from the past, now you look them up, like Luke, I am your father, which was the famous line, right? He didn't really say that. Go back and look. You know, I remember growing up with Jiffy peanut butter. There's no Jiffy peanut butter. There's Jif. These very slightly different nuanced things that I remember so strongly, like Febreze, stuff you put with the drying, you know, it's not spelled the way that we thought, or the Flintstones, right? It's all these things are retrocausally changed.
No, they're not. People just remember wrong things and share the wrongness with other people, and the wrongness spreads. Okay, Luke, I am your father. Like, yeah, that's not the exact quote, but people just said it, and then other people heard people saying it wrongly and then repeated it. Like, come on, man. Like, just, it's so easy to explain. You have to work so hard to not accept the most trivial and obvious explanation for things like this.
As you move into higher dimension, your past, present, and future now reflects the new frequency that you're at, and things that were not part of that frequency, little aspects of it start to dissolve.
You are not at a frequency. You can't go into a higher dimension. None of this means anything. We live in 3 spatial dimensions. Anyone who has observed a fourth, bring me some evidence for that, right? If you've seen and touched a hypercube, can you bring it back for us? I sure would like to see it. I sure would like to wrap my head around a 4th spatial dimension. I'm pretty sure the human brain is incapable of that. And there's no, I think that they like to use things like string theory as an excuse for why it's these higher dimensions that are curled up in the 3 spatial ones that we are familiar with, that are hypothesized in these theoretical constructs. But they take that as an excuse to pretend that a higher dimension is like heaven is another dimension, right? You can be transported to another realm. It doesn't mean anything. You can't be at a higher frequency. That doesn't mean anything. Frequency of what? What are you talking about? None of this means anything.
In the past and in the future. So it's not that I'm jumping through different timelines per se, because in one lifetime I decided to be with one woman, in another circumstance.
The guy can't spell woman, by the way. Yeah, this is like you're pretending that Back to the Future Part 2 is like on the table for like how we are actually discussing how time works. Yeah. Time travel to the past, not possible. And this is a fun experiment for you with different women, but sure.
I decided in the same lifetime to be with a different one, and so I could jump into a different lifetime if it didn't work out for me one way or another. No, I don't believe that. What I believe is that as we raise consciousness, the reality around us through all dimensions of time also changes.
What is raising consciousness? Can you explain to me what that means in a way that isn't just utterly vague bullshit? Describe for me mechanistically with physical phenomena what consciousness is. How do you quantify it? How do you raise the number of what that is? Yeah, I know you can't do it. I'm just kidding.
It's a mind blower. No matter how you look at it, I can go through the detail, right, of, okay, here's what you do. But I think throughout time, when people come to this understanding, they don't explain in the end all the scientific methods that they derived it and how their perception shifted.
Of course, they don't explain it scientifically. No, that's a waste of time. That's totally not me deflecting for the fact that I have zero ability to describe any of this with any with any true scientific basis. I'm just throwing out buzzwords. But in the meantime, let's this is clearly the pivot. There's people in understanding and compassion and empathy, reduce negativity, meditation, manifestation, you guys. Let's pivot to the self-help grift. Right? If you can understand these deep truths about the universe and the quantum realm that I am bestowing upon you, you can manifest whatever you want. Right? Buy my book, buy my video series, come to my expensive seminar where all I do is vomit all this jargon onto your face, and you sit there and nod and go, wow, I'm learning, and I'm totally going to make my life super awesome because of your super cool motivational speaking.
What they say is the result of it, which is, yes, they'll always say that we're in an illusion. And that I kind of had an inkling of quite some time ago. And then finally it really locked into place. And
the fabric of the universe and apparently the backdrop against which reality plays out is a hologram. So a hologram is not an illusion. So an illusion is something that does not exist. This is okay, Maldacena. So yeah, holographic. All right, I don't know a lot about it, but we're talking about a projection. It's like it's a projection from a two-dimensional surface to create a three-dimensional construct. It's something like that. I don't remember about it, but that's not illusory, right? Have you seen a hologram? It exists, right? Yeah, totally. I think what I said is right, because we're talking about something. It is flat, but it appears to be three-dimensional. Nothing illusory about it. You're just vaguely referencing physics you don't understand that has absolutely fucking nothing to do with what you're saying to make it seem like your magic is science. That's the essence of quantum mysticism, right? Physics seems like magic because you don't understand it. So if I can describe magic using physics terminology, my magic is real. And you can use it to get that promotion or get that date with that girl you want, right? Bunch of bullshit.
And now science is actually parroting exactly that. But
no, it is not.
What they do say is that it's all about the transcendence of judgment, the transcendence of duality. This notion of looking at the world as being either good or evil. It's realizing also that the things that we judge negatively are the things that we attract in our lives over and over again. We literally become a hammer that's seeking a nail of our own self-validation of being a light worker, right? The thing that's going to fight the bad thing. When all along, maybe you're the designer of your own game experience. All of it for the...
You can have the big apartment and this cat and the money and two babes, not one, but two. Look at this shit, man. It's like the IQ of the person that's just like, oh, he said a bunch of science stuff. So if I buy his book or go to his seminar, I can have the nice apartment and the cash and the two girls. Like this is how dumb. This is the demographic that he is catering to. He can't spell it out more. I mean, okay, he didn't. I guess okay, somebody else made this video. He didn't make it, but it doesn't matter. Like this is what this grift is, right? If you can quantum transmogrify your vibration to the frequency of the higher plane of the flower of life of the blah blah blah, you can bang hot chicks. Like that's what it is. That's what this grift is.
The benefit of your own conscious expansion and to realize and remember who we are. And also to realize that the reason we're here is not to learn more judgments, but rather we're here to learn how to love. We're here to learn how to love and how to receive love, because that's really what happens. When we look at ourselves, the things we don't like about ourselves start projecting over and over and over again in the world around us, because those aspects of the higher self, of us, of the self, the full self, when you are in your complete authentic nature, combining both the part of you that you want the world to see in one light, like I had my LinkedIn on one aspect, and then I had my Instagram on another. When you finally combine and become the authentic you, and you fall in love with your experience, that's when you become enlightened. Because then you fall in love with everything around you as well. It's a love fest. Even when bad things happen to you, you realize, well, wait a minute. Throughout time, what I thought was a bad thing that happened to me actually turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me. So
yeah, bad things are good things. When somebody murdered my entire family, that was actually a good thing. What a fucking vacuous and like, it's just, it's this long ass pseudoscientific preamble to just the most trivial, like, oh, don't have anger, have love instead. Just have love. It's so much better to have love. And just expect people to go, oh yeah, quantum physics and so love. Like, it's just, there's nothing in, there's not even an attempt to say something even remotely insightful after all of that bullshit. Like, it's just, there's nothing here.
So time has this aspect of polarity, and it's just like music, if you know musical interval. So I could play a note, C, and then go to E, and that's one of the most beautiful chords in music. It's called a major third, but it's inverse. And most people, when they hear a major third, which is just da, da, and often you'll hear it with a perfect fifth, da, 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 right? And you play all three together on a piano, sounds great, fabulous. Whoa, it's like love. It's awesome. But if you play them backwards, if you go in a descending arc on that, so I just played an ascending by going da, da, da. If I do a descending arc of that and inverse the order of it, so it becomes, instead of C to E, it goes from E to C, and it's going down, that becomes a minor sixth.
Okay. No. So if you go ascending and descending with the same notes, it's the same fucking chord. If you go da 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 and da da da, it's the same fucking chord. And whatever jackass made this video changed the G to a G sharp. That's a different note. It's a different chord. So I don't know. It like that's obviously the guy talking didn't make this. But no, if you change the order, you can, like, when you outline a chord with an arpeggio, it doesn't become a different chord as you go up and down. It's the same fucking chord. You're just arpeggiating it. God damn it. Like, they always go to music. They always try to make these analogies with music, and they always fuck it up every time. God damn it.
Minor six is negative. People, when they listen to that, they're like, oh, that sounds like heartbreak. So isn't that interesting? That chords of music, one direction through time, because the only difference in music could be like a time tracker, is that I play the order different.
It's not a different order. They're different fucking notes. Look at the goddamn thing. It's C and G and C and G sharp. Or A flat, right? A flat, minor sixth. They're different fucking intervals. It's not a different order. They're different notes. Like, what are you talking about? You put the person making the video, how are you this stupid? You're literally lighting up different notes. And below it, it says I played the order different. You didn't play the order different. You changed the notes. It's a different chord. It is fascinating to think about why major chords sound happy and minor chords sound sad, and the cultural context in which we arrive at that, and how that actually does change from culture to culture. Right, there are cultures which do not treat a minor key as sad, but actually some as triumphant or some other emotion. But this jackass doesn't have the cognitive ability to wrap his head around something like that. He's busy talking about, I played the order different. It's a different chord. No, it fucking isn't. God damn it.
But the same two notes that I play in the descending order through time, and it turns from joy and love to sadness and heartbreak. What does that say to us? What it says is that the experience we have of love houses and embeds the seed of heartbreak. The experience of sadness has within it the seed of love and joy.
So, because I don't know how chords work, sadness equals joy, you guys. What a fucking words of wisdom here. What a guru, what a sage. What a wise sage this man is.
And that's true across all chords of music. And what I'm going to tell you about the pyramids is that there are chords in music, right? The major third that I just told you is 5/4 relationship. It's 1.25, 5 divided by 4. It's simple. So if you take the Hertz frequency of a C note, multiply by 1.25, you're going to get an E note in Pythagorean tuning. It's perfect. Now, if we take the inverse of these and we start looking at all of these different relationships, a perfect fifth would be da, da, da. So that's the first and the third note. So it's da, da.
It's not, you said a perfect fifth and then you're doing a triad. The guy just, if you don't know music, don't talk about music. Don't pretend that you understand music. And what the fuck does a pyramid have to do with this? Like, he's just like, pyramids are cool, right? Pyramids are cool and music is cool. These are all cool things. So the bullshit I'm saying must be true because it's over a backdrop of cool things. Yeah.
That's a perfect fifth. Perfect fifth means stability. It's stability. You feel secure, stable, safe.
How is it stability? Why isn't an octave stability? A fifth is stability, but not an octave. What is an octave then? Is it vanity? I don't know. What, like, you just pick a random word and you say, duh, a fifth is stability, obviously. Right? Like, why? Why is it stability? What's so stable about a fifth? That's not the same with a third or an octave, right? I would arbitrarily choose the octave as the most stable. Feels that way to me.
That is a relationship of 3/2. And then the sound that we have when Darth Vader enters the room is what I already did. Dun, 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 dun. That is a diminished fifth, which is like the most terrible sound of music because it always makes you feel like a villain just entered. It's a reframe on everything in your life because now everything that happens to you isn't happening to you. You chose it. So stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, why did I choose it? And if you're an athlete,
some jerk slammed their car into me on the freeway and now I'm paralyzed. Why did I choose that? Why did I choose paralysis? It's because I really want paralysis and not because it was a freak accident that wasn't my fault at all. Like, it's just the like the whiplash of going from here's some notes, therefore you choose bad things that happen to you. Where the fuck does this guy get the balls to talk like this?
You're not going to go into a sport where you're not going to be challenged. You're going to go into a sport that's going to tear the muscle. You're going to go into an area where you're going to be challenged because that's the most fun. When you finish that game or that sport, you're like, whoa, that was tough, but I did it. So we cannot assume how everyone would assume to come into this world and what they would assume that they would want to experience.
When you finish a sport, you're like, yeah, I did it. Guy clearly has never played any sports either. How do you finish a sport? When are you finished with a sport? When you finish a game, you could just play another game after that. When you finish a race, what's the next race? How can someone be so, like, every single sentence is either objectively wrong or cripplingly vacuous? It's like, it's almost a skill to sound this fucking dumb when you talk.
Now, Helen Keller is a good example of this. She was deaf and blind and a paraplegic, and yet she came up with...
Helen Keller was not a paraplegic. What the fuck are you talking about? Do you just not know what that word means? She had full use of all of her limbs. She was blind and deaf, which, holy shit, that's quite a setback. Not paraplegic. Why would you say that? Why would you say that Helen Keller was paraplegic?
with profound quotes that impacted the world over, tens of millions of people, by saying the only
What was that graphic? 880 million people. When, I mean, I don't remember when she was alive, but I don't, maybe, no, that can't be the case. That can't be, have been the global population at that time. Had to be more than that. Whatever. Tiny detail.
thing worse than blindness is to have sight without vision. And I was thinking, what would it be like if I couldn't hear? What would be worse than not being able to hear? And I was thinking about Beethoven, who sawed the legs off his piano so he could write through vibrations the Ninth Symphony, which is one of my favorite symphonies. And I
That's the Moonlight Sonata. God damn it. Like, the person who made this video is even dumber than this jerk who's talking. Like, couldn't you get, like, it's all copyright free. He's been dead for more than 75 years. Can't you just put a snippet of the fucking Ninth Symphony? Why are you putting Moonlight Sonata in there? I can't do it.
And I thought, well, the only thing really worse than deafness is probably to be able to hear without empathy. I think that's what the world is missing. So what I've tried to do is share my story and my experience.
Cool little logo, bro. You're trying to share your story and your experience. That's it. Your experience of making up bullshit about physics and distilling it into absolutely vapid, vacuous self-help to cash in. What a grifter. Look at this jerk. Look at his fucking grifter face. God damn.
And to me, it's been a beautiful journey. And it has helped me to reconcile all the things that have been in my life I thought were irreconcilable. But sharing it has been powerful because I know I'm just sharing it with the world around me. And it has increased also my empathy towards other people's condition and what they are experiencing. Because I don't believe I'm here to judge. I believe I'm here to learn to love and learn how to receive love. And that's what's important.
That's what's important. You gotta love, you gotta have empathy, and you gotta love, and you also have to be a grifting douchebag who sells snake oil. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I could have looked this guy up and see like what he what he actually does. Like, does he have a website? Does he sell? Does he sell supplements? Does he have expensive seminars? I don't know. Worth a Google. Had never heard of him. Would prefer to not think about him ever again. But yeah, that's more or less what I expect. Actually, to be honest, it was a little light on the quantum mysticism. He just kind of dabbled in it and pretty quickly pivoted to the self-help stuff. I mean, he did all the music shit, but that was not that's not your traditional quantum mystic jargon. So yeah, that was I don't know, that just irritates the hell out of me. Hopefully you enjoyed that a little bit. As I said, this was just I wanted to give you guys something to enjoy as am working on. I have about at least 4 pretty meaty debunks planned that will be released within the month. I think you guys are going to like those. So none of the targets will be terribly surprising. They're kind of continuing on some threads that I've been working on lately, but they're good ones. They're important ones. And just kind of getting closer to unraveling a lot of the transfer of power that's been happening and the state-sanctioned pseudoscience and really nasty predatory stuff that has to be addressed. So I've been working on that. This is something that, I've been sitting here for, it was a little while, 50 minutes or something like that. I don't know, that just that was more than anything a break for me from working on some of these scripts. So kind of fun. Hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time.